warp stack. I think I'd like to run right into the OS2 museum part of the presentation. Robert, could you come up? The two of us, I sort of started collecting because many of the Day Warp members had transitioned on, and some of them had enormous collections of stuff. And so they said, well, you want them? And I thought, I've got space in the garage, sure. And so I wound up with quite a bit. What is his name? Mikhail?
Chesick.
Chesick. He came over to my house and he had first grabs, just sort of like a collection like this, and he said, one of the donors had said, under the condition that he can take whatever he wants back to Germany. So he aggravated his family by filling an entire suitcase full of CDs and whatever he could take and take them back to Germany. But the rest of it I had, and then my life changed and I didn't really have space anymore, and Robert volunteered to help me move in this place. Of course, you moved.
So it's called the OS2 Museum West because it was in California, and there either is maybe still or was a collection. There was the East collection in New Jersey, and so when Neil called me up and asked if I could take the stuff, I said yes, and so boxes started to arrive. And I had warned my wife that a few boxes would be coming, and
A few.
kept coming, and kept coming. So. That was actually when I was in Virginia, and then we moved down here. So it's actually in a bit of disarray because I've got everything out of boxes now, but at least mostly up on shelves. But I was doing the same thing that a lot of other people were. I started grabbing stuff when I could. I started buying it off of eBay. In fact, I realized a while ago I probably should have coordinated with some people because I think we were all outbidding each other. So we were driving our own costs up. That wasn't very forethoughtful of us. But I have quite a bit of it here. I've started putting it into a database, and I don't know if we can show it or not. But and actually, so I discovered actually for my own collection, for my own books, that I found a thing called Library Thing. And it's actually very interesting. You can enter your books in there. They pull information from Library of Congress, Amazon, a few other different sources. So you get a lot of metadata about your books and things. You can catalog them. And in fact, Martin's doing similar stuff with his through a different mechanism. But it's just kind of interesting to start doing some of this stuff. And I realized that, like Library Thing, for instance, was made for small libraries and stuff. So in the process of cataloging things, I actually have a mechanism by which to check books out and stuff like that. Whether we turn that into something or not, I don't know. The Library Thing is also very interesting because it gives you a lot of data about your system, about your books and stuff like that. For instance, if you absolutely have to know the equivalent weight of your books to elephants, or adult badgers. It has that information. The books I have cataloged so far is bigger than the St. Louis Arch, but not quite as tall as the Eiffel Tower. Just the same sort of thing. This was the West collection that was just scrolling by, and and another interesting thing I've seen since seeing here, besides the fact our own personal biases, whoever was collecting them. I mean, I was grabbing up mostly developer stuff, but I realized even from seeing here, a lot of it is based on, everybody's collection is somewhat opportunistic, whatever you actually had access to. And so as much as any of us think we've collected, we walk into somebody else's collection and say, I don't have that one. And so I would kind of like to maybe start getting a bit of a consortium going of different collectors and getting our collections in some sort of online database of some sort, whether it turns into, I don't even know if there would be a practical need or application for a lending library sort of thing, but it could be a matter of, I don't have this, but one of the other groups does, and that sort of thing. And Martin has even taken it one step further. He's starting to get things get approval to digitize some of the things. And so between that and software, you know, I've got this huge collection of floppy disks that I promised myself 12 years ago I would get transferred to some other medium before the disk disintegrated. I have not made good on that promise. So they're still there, sitting there waiting for that, but the possibility of capturing some of that software and things like that, you know, is still in my hope, my dream.
Yeah. And imagine other collectors have already digitized part of their collection too, so it would be interesting to coordinate this, and none of us have really started doing, you know, I started a little.
Right, well, and that's a lot of that too, is a lot of us have started different efforts of it from different points, and I think, actually, if we collected what's been done, we probably have more done than we think.
Yeah.
And there are becoming more and more mechanisms by which to save things and make them available to other people without excessive costs that even 10 years ago might have been prohibitive. So I'm just hoping to see some way of capturing that. And of course, my wife loves the idea. She's a big fan of it. She asked how many people were going to be here at this session, and I said, well, both of us are going, so it'll be a great gathering. So anyway, like I said, I'm glad it was here. The last one was in Orlando. I was in the process of moving here, so I was in the wrong state on the particular week that you guys were here last time. So glad they came back.
You'd mentioned something about a lending library with library thing.
Yeah. So do we have
Oh.
a browser? Do we have
I can-
are you connected to the internet? I can take a look at it. I actually have it on mine, but we'll probably spend more time trying to make the video display.
Yeah. Just gonna let you go. You have to sort of, oh. The OS2 Museum East, I guess, was Mark Dodell's old collection.
Just
click. That's the one that ended up in,
Oh, that's.
Now, it's not good, you're not, well, this is.
Oh, no.
No, that's good, that's good.
That's
good.
Actually,
Just go to wherever
Now
you
you're-
want.
now you're good. Okay.
Hey guys, using Firefox, switch to SeaMonkey.
Oh, yeah? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
also, you may have actually authenticated, I've
You
seen
did,
that on
yeah.
Firefox where it's.
Well,
Okay.
SeaMonkey did the same
SeaMonkey
thing.
does the same thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
that's-
it's a flaw in their copy.
well, yeah, but if
It
you use
doesn't
Windows,
pass the URL.
yeah, but if
Just
you,
switch to one of the other browsers.
yeah, but if you use Windows, you hit connect, it doesn't do anything, but you're authenticated.
You're connected, yeah.
You
You may be
can't tell it.
connected, and it doesn't even go to.
Yeah, just.
No,
Yeah.
Android does the same
Oh,
thing.
okay. So this is actually better than what you see on Windows,
Yeah.
because at least it did something.
Yeah.
Well, it somehow turned on.
So this gonna make me go
Oh,
through
no,
this
it's not
again.
the robot.
Which one? Yeah. Which one do we need to get? Select the cookbooks. Did I do this one? On me. Did I get them all?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing I hate about that one, is like, is there something I'm missing?
Yeah.
So this is like I said, this is some of the fun stuff, physical properties. The blue one there is my stack of books between the St. Louis Arch and the Eiffel Tower. I believe it's half an elephant or 256 adult badgers. Although it's kind of funny because as I started looking at some of the things, the bibliophile in me kind of got offended, because it turns out that the way book readers look at books for dimensions is different than the way people who ship books look at them. You know, I look at a book like it's sitting on a shelf, and so you've got the width, the height, and the depth. Shippers look at it as if it's sitting flat on a table. So some of the dimensions I've noticed are the correct dimensions, but in the wrong field, basically. But this is the library thing. And this is just part of it. And so what I've started doing is, like, for instance, the OS2 Museum West, this is just some of the ones that I've started, that I've actually inventoried. And it's actually kind of nice with with things with ISBN codes. You just sit there with your phone, take a picture of it, say, yep, that's the one. And I went through my whole library really fast. Of course, that's completely worthless on almost all of this stuff, because the barcodes on these books are not necessarily the ISBN codes, because they predate that fad. But taking a look at any one of these, you see that it's got a certain amount of information that just displays, and that one was less interesting than some. But it's got, like I said, the ISBN number. It's got whatever information that is able to grab from Library of Congress or Amazon or wherever it grabbed it from. Plus, you can then go back in and fill in a bunch more and things like that. And you have the ability to put into here software, music, all that other stuff. And so get it to
Let's try it.
push through faster. It's quite amusing, actually. I don't actually know what I just did to make sure that all OS2 books showed up first here. I was a little bit worried about actually what might show up there. But if I could get this to go through, we show more. But like I said, you can enter in a whole bunch of information about all these different things. And again, just have that captured. You even have, now this does not store, like if you have ebooks and stuff like that, it stores the metadata about the ebooks. It does not store the ebook itself. So a lot of these do not necessarily have like cover images, so you can add the cover images. If somebody has, a lot of books sometimes will have multiple covers. So over time, people will upload the various covers, or you can upload them yourself. You have details about the book, and basically all of this information you can edit and add more to as you have nothing but time.
800,000th most popular.
Right, and it's
But-
got all kinds
but
of
look at
ridiculous
that.
stats.
Someone else had already cataloged it.
Yes, yeah. So a lot of this, and like I said, there's a whole bunch of ridiculous stats and stuff in there for it that just kind of are there and amusing. But like I said, this is what I started doing with the stuff I had, partially to, especially now when we moved down here, I started unboxing stuff. I'm like, okay, there's two of these. One's mine, one belongs to the museum, and I really like this one, so that was mine. But and you can create different collections and things like that, so you can sort and sift. And you saw that when I went to library thing, I was able to make those little hot links so it could go straight to the OS2 museum collection versus my collection and all of those stuff. So.
Yeah. But I don't know what to say about the collection here. What do we want to do? You said you would take the things you wanted most.
Yeah, so this would have been a perfect time for this database to have been completely updated and correct, so that I could say these ones I know I'm missing, but so I'm having to go from memory. So I did pull some aside, but otherwise, I mean, if anyone especially is going to put it to use, then take it, put it to use. Depending on what it is, I might call you back later and say, hey, would you like to add that to an online inventory? And in fact, same sort of thing, like I said, the idea of maybe collecting these and cataloging our various collections is something I would like to consider doing as a community type project. If anyone does want, I think, I looked at a couple of these last night, and I think the software was pulled out of most of these. I think they're actually in binders I have in the back there.
Okay.
So if anyone does want some of this stuff and wants the software with it, we'll have to dig for it. But I do believe I did a couple spot checks, and I did find some of the stuff in there. So just check. Like I said, the software is not in there probably, so come get it from me. We'll see if we can find it.
So we have 8 PS2 machines.
At least one works, we know.
We know one works, and you're probably taking that one home.
You know, I'll check with my wife. There are no basements in Florida, at least not right around here, so that's slightly problematic, so.
Okay.
I've got plenty of room to store stuff too, and if you ever need anything back, I live right close to you too. So
Okay, so, yeah, so that's,
Okay.
somehow, I don't want to make use of the dumpsters, I plan on
no,
taking
Yeah.
whatever's here somehow, some way, and hoping to put it to use.
I had no idea there would be this many, or in such good condition, PS2s, and, you know, I can contact the PS2 Society, but, you know, I'm leaving at the end of the weekend, there's nothing I can do. But, I think, nice as they are, there may be some demand for it. You know, PS2 is
I would
pretty
love a
useless.
PS2. I've had plenty of 8088s and 286s. I've actually never had a PS2.
Uh-huh.
I
So,
never had either. I
When you
had-
mentioned that, I was like, "Whew,
This
that
is
sounds
one of the
good."
best ones ever.
Because I use all my old computers. I've got
Yeah.
a big stack of them. They're all hooked up.
I mean, I did a lot of work for the New York City subway on OS2.
Yeah.
And this is the office version of the industrial machines I was using. So what I could remember of it, you know, I just got this one running just because I said, you know, everyone knew PS2s used reference disks, not BIOS. But I knew that this late, the reference disks are on the hard drive.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's just a menu like it's a modern computer. And I was able to get this running that way. But the knowledge is in a different, analogous to our group, the PS2 users. We call it the MCA Mafia. But they're still around, and there's still help for getting these running and modifying them and so on. So I think they're actually kind of a nice find. I had no idea we were going to get them, but for people who want to fool around with it. And this one's running Warp 4. Warp 3 is really the optimum operating system for those. They all have network, so Warp 3 Connect is actually your perfect. But you know, Warp 4 works. It just uses a little more memory, and it's only 32 meg, which is huge for PS2. But so this is an interesting. You know, I don't want to oversell them, but you know, for people who love vintage computers, these are really pretty good find. Yeah.
Just one thing, maybe there's going to be a giveaway on Sunday.
Yeah.
So, well, feel free to see the stuff, to touch the stuff, and on Sunday we will do if you want to take something, we will do a classic fight to the death for the stuff.
I like that suggestion. Yes.
And well, the private collection is the one on the.
Yes, try not to take the ones off the table in the very back marked OS2 West.
That is the
Actually,
private collection.
some of that stuff is actually mine, some of that is the OS2 West one. Take a look at it. I tried to bring in a collection of games, office productivity, development software, and even some cross-platform type stuff, MKS utilities, virtual PC, things like that. So it's just to show the diversity of what could be done with it. And such is all back there.
And the books on this side and that part is for the fight to the death on Sunday.
Okay.
So feel free to touch it, to grab it, and on Sunday we'll define what you like. And maybe.
In fact, I think I just did a quick count. I think it actually works out to 1 box per person. And we've got plenty of boxes for you. So.
Don't forget to take your OS2 magazine.
So, but if anyone does have an interest in the preservation of it in one form or another, or the display of it, I had also it's starting to get cheap enough concept-wise, I'd even considered the idea of trying to make VMs available in some way, virtualization of it, that people could actually see them working and running specific bits of software and stuff like that. I know I was playing with a Linux distribution recently called Cubes, which does some very interesting stuff, but it's Zen under the hood. I got word from at least one person out there that he got OS2 running under Zen. You got to monkey with it a bit. I didn't get that far. In fact, I'm actually hoping my demonstration with Squeak will go well. I did bring a Windows computer just in case, because knowing that warp stock happens every year, and knowing maybe a few months before a lot of other people that it might happen in Orlando, 2 weeks ago I decided to delete everything on my laptop and start over. So we'll see how well advised that mission was. But but like I said, that's just one of the things I thought. It would be interesting to be able to log in and see different working scenarios because it did so many different things. Whether it was running stuff in subways or robotics, or whether it was doing games and that sort of thing. I still feel like in a way Windows is still catching up. And I still, partially because I work in Unix all day, maybe I'm a little bit jaded to it. And although I use Linux as my base OS there, I do refer to Linux as 1960s technology by way of a garage in Finland. So, you know, it is not particularly exciting to me. It's functional, and I'm not functional in it. But I personally work in OS2 when I can because it's the one OS out there that basically doesn't piss me off on a regular basis. So I would like to get back into it more and demonstrate it a bit more. I'm not adverse to getting my kids involved in stuff that predates them as well. I had a little gaming computer set up for a while for my oldest, and those were the video games he played, were all the old OS2 games, some of which are on the desk back there. You know, and so he actually even bugged me recently about setting that back up for him to play with. So.
Thanks.
So this is available publicly, the thing you were showing?
So yeah, library thing, it's for personal use, it's like $26 for a lifetime use. I actually ended up getting the full version of it free because they had just released a phone app, and I downloaded it without realizing it. And I went through scanning my books because the free version allows, I think, 200 or 300 books or whatever. And I realized very quickly, I'm way past that. What happened? And I found out that by downloading that app, I got the free version. But like I said, I think the paid one is $25 forever, and then it includes the library one as well. So you can enter all the data in here, and then when you set up your account, you click the little cat, then you get the full public viewable database that people can see whatever you put mark as being available in that collection there.
But if we are not library thing members, can we still look at your collection?
So what you would be able to look at is the one that I had up before that had the little scrolling marquee and stuff, and then
Okay.
you can search through that.
Can we search that?
So, and then as a community, if we set up in here too, that there's like, it's a whole discussion community in there as well. So you can set up discussion boards and stuff like that that are tailored to specific subjects and whatnot as well. So it's a whole social platform as well.
We probably want to have a link to that from OS2 World at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I think it works well with what you've already done, Martin.
So you entered all this manually, or you have some OCR thing that helped you with it, or what?
So this, like I said, this is just the metadata about the books. This is not the content of the book itself.
Right.
And like I said, there's a little phone app for it. So everything that has an ISBN on it, well, if the barcode is the ISBN, some of it, the barcodes you see on the back of the books actually predate that. So it
Right.
wasn't the ISBN, but if it is the ISBN, you scan it, and if it's either been entered or if they can find it in the Library of Congress or on Amazon or something like that, then they can pull that metadata. And so a lot of the stuff gets pre-populated
I
for
see.
you. If you have an ISBN number, you can type that in a lot of times and you get the information, not always. So a lot of it actually with my own personal collection, and with some of it is I'm down to the hard stuff where I'm going to have to enter it in myself. I've even got books and stuff, not computer ones, but that predate the whole ISBN concept. So then you enter that all in manually yourself.
Now, what's this called? What's it?
So it's called Library Thing. So
Library
just
Thing.
run that together, librarything.com. It is the website that basically hosts all this.
There's no further questions. I can run right into break. I don't know if it's exactly time, but.
It's break time.
Perfect.
Thank you.